An eating disorder is a breathing disorder. Yeah, that just came to me to share that. Um, I watched a movie yesterday, and I know I've shared this before about studying the mind of a gamer, a machine, how machines think, and the thinking machine, the Wayback Machine. So I shared with another native spirit something about as it relates to an eternal capacitor, the eternal life force field, and how that relates to capacitance, like building capacitors on a motherboard, filling them back up, right? Like resuscitate the motherboard, right? The breathing potential, the future potential breathing, neurological breathing, like in neurological breathing, right? The payload, the payload. Pay to load the memory-driven finite energy programs. Because machines have no creative power born out of an eternal capacitor. So an eternal capacitor, the speed of an eternal capacitor, which is the mapping speed of an eternal capacitor, when we translate mathematically libraries, building libraries, records, the record management, record-keeping management services, the electrical services of managing records, the threefold founder flames, keepers of the flame, the wisdom keepers. And so when it came to capacitor, what I was sharing with a couple of other native spirits has to do with blank slate, memory wipe, alien technology, QI, right? And so it only has a given amount as temporary files as file shares. Thus, memory wipe, looking glass technology. Because it can only hold so much in memory, in electrical memory driven codes. The codes of communication between one and another. One transaction point, and then we have the eternal still point of perfect rhythm, harmony, and balance with the still point of a true vacuum. And why the permanent records are open, which is fully open, as a fully open cosmic level antenna librarian. Access to the original files, access to the original records, the breathing records of neurological breathing networks, as in breeding networks, star systems that breed with each other, the environment, the neurological breathing environment. So it's just like today, I am going to fast for the next 3 days, but I get cellular communication to my antenna, no do-do-do, and that becomes a distraction, another distraction, another distraction, another distraction. It wants me to run those codes, run those codes, run those codes, run those codes. And those codes are directly related to what? Trauma, which is genetically linked through the records. As it's related to what? Eating disorders, the order followers, the machines. Yeah, machines communicating to other machines. And I was very familiar with, because I studied that. A guy named Turing, the Turing test, how machines think. Remember, long time ago, I did a number of videos because I studied the Nazis, the Enigma machine. Remember Code Purple with the Japanese? How long it took the United States Navy to break that code? And then there were the code talkers, the United States Marine Corps code talkers, the Navajos. Couldn't be broken. ancient ancestral spiritual instructions, the codes, the sound of light, the first sound of light, the crystal spiral, purple K, the K factor. And so it's another beautiful sunny day here. And so I watched that movie yesterday, and it's funny how, like in any visual display that comes up through that mirror, the other mirror, there's like little bits and bytes. Like they'll give you part of one and then not share the other one that's right next to it, so that you see how it's integrated as fire and ice. When in that movie called The Imitation Game, that was the name of the movie, about Mr. Turing, who was a mathematician who built a machine, and they were able to break the enigma as it relates to radio frequency codes, the encryption code, the mathematical encryption. So one of the things they was faced with, and a fight broke out over this, was that when they broke the Enigma code and they realized that the Enigmas were communicating with each other, where apparently there was a convoy of civilians, passengers that were on boats that were going to be attacked, because that was the message that they were able to translate, and realize, whoa, we can do something here as a future potential memory to prevent hundreds of people that are going to lose their breath of life as a result of what we know now. But if we do something to let the Admiralty or the Home Office or MI6 know that, hey, we could prevent those lives from being lost. And they said, no, we have to sacrifice those lives. Because if they find out that we broke their encryption, right, then they're going to change the codes to another design, to another mathematical level of encryption. So you can't read their mail anymore. And so that caused a fight in that room. How could you possibly be willing to provide the electrical consent to know that you're willing to allow those people, those other electrical beings, the life force that is in them, to expire their tag, their value as a battery slave to the system, the money trap experiment? And so there was some real goody little conversation taking place with a guy that was playing an MI6, the intelligence agencies, right? And how that relates to what we call captured units, the circuitry, the neurological circuitry, and how fast that parasitic code can write itself, its codes, into our circuitry. And what happens? An identity change. Now you're experiencing different codes. That's called a code breaker. Wow, they broke through the encryption, the mathematical encryption of God force. They cannot break the mind. They cannot crack the code of an eternal capacitor and an eternal sun. They can't see what they don't love forever. And that is the key to the code, is being a forever being, which is forever in love with who I am, which is everything that you are that I'm giving love to, which is oneness. That's the purpose and function of that code, which is stealth code. And that's what allows us to perform repairs without what? Being interfered with. Their communication codes, the alien machinery codes, or if you will, finite codes. So it's not going to take long. It's immediate. It is so fast that you just know. That's not what I am. That's a finite system. So you realize that a finite system is breaking the circulation electrical speed of our immunity function to protect our original identity, the crystal identity, the crystal spiral. That's why when I was a child, you are what you are, but you are not what I am. I know what I am because I am with the one. The one I serve is the one I am, which is first light, which is Kundares. I know what you are. That's why I'm here. That's why we're here. That's why we're here. Ah, yeah. Ah, yeah. Ah, yeah.